Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew. What I have for you today is just the Infantryman's EDC kit. Stand by. All right, so that first item is going to be on the belt or on the hip or in the pocket for our infantry. EDC is going to be that multi-tool or Gerber. We use the nickname Gerber for all multi-tools in the military at least. But we have those extra set of hands, those pliers and wire cutters. Can manipulate small objects like fish hooks or raise and lower that front side post and then cut wire for our snares. And we obviously have obligatory tools, screwdrivers. With this version of the multi-tool, this comes with a nice reamer or that awl so we can drill. So it's a good bushcraft tool as well. Then we have our and bottle opener, additional screwdrivers over here. And then on the outside, we got our main blade, got a nice file so we can actually sharpen other tools as part of our everyday carry kit, sharpen those additional blades and tools we have. We've got large scissors this time so we can cut fish line and cordage as well as for hygiene for our nails. And then even a small saw blade. We can carve, notch, and take down material if this was our only survival tool that was on us. Again, multi-tool, it's for a multitude of tasks, multifunctional, and gives us a lot of bang for our buck as a simple everyday carry tool. Speaking of cutting tools, we just got that small utility blade. This is just a sawed terminus, so it's a very small blade. If I can flip it out there. But this used for processing small material, cutting cordage, opening that MRE, even processing game, and then if we can actually get a good edge on the back here for the spine, we can use it as a striker with our ferro rod. But just a basic small utility blade that goes right in the pocket, a pocket clip, good for basic and everyday routine tasks. And then of course we need to talk about our BFK or our big effing knife here, a full tang knife like this, a belt knife for survival. We could have a bayonet as an infantryman, or we can just have some sort of fixed blade knife on our kit as a utility knife, but then also a survival knife. And what I like to do with mine, at least with the sheath, is take paracord, wrap it around the sheath, at least enough length of paracord to act as a string for a bow drill set, so that with this knife and with that cordage, we can harvest materials and actually get a friction fire going, so it makes it a good survival kit in and of itself. We can still use the guts for fishing or for traps, or just carve deadfalls. And that way we can feed ourselves, get warm, and possibly make a shelter as well. With this is a cold steel SRK, a full tang knife, rubberized handle. Very good knife. It comes with a relatively sharp spine on it. We can use it with our ferro rod, drive sparks off of it. And because it's CPM 3V, there is some carbon content. We can actually get a few sparks off the back of the blade, although it's not as good as a carbon steel knife. It can still drive sparks, so flint and steel with char material still is possible with this. Also going to be great as a carving tool. It comes sharp. We can also sharpen it. It holds an edge fairly well, and we can make simple feather sticks fairly easily with this blade as well. The trick is just getting them to stay on the stick, I guess. And so it'll carve, it'll make feather sticks for fire starting, a nice easy blade like that. Any blade we have should be able to process material. We should be able to use it to baton with or take down material, as well as make every stage of the process of fire with all our materials. So tinder, kindling, like feather sticks, flint and steel, ferro rod, we should be able to process and carve everything we need for a fire set with a knife that's on our belt. So we got our belt knife. And for fire starting, obviously that lighter is going to be our #1 fire starter, wrapped with 100-mile-an-hour tape. This is just ubiquitous now in the survival and bushcraft community. It's definitely the best fire starter to carry with you. Infantrymen are going to have it on there because there's still a lot of Joes that smoke, so always carry a lighter. We did have ferro rods in survival training, as well as magnesium bars, so those could also be fire starters. We could take this, throw it in our assault bag or part of our survival kit in the rucksack, and use that as a secondary as well. But that lighter is going to be #1. At cordage, 2 different lengths here. For an everyday pocket carry, I would recommend something between 6 and 10 feet to go in that front pocket. Very easy to carry, light cordage, similar to the length of cordage on our belt knife. So if we're without our belt knife and all we have is our little utility blade, we can take this cordage and this tool and actually make a friction fire set that way as well, or the same thing with our multi-tool. So having a small hank in the pocket is important. We could also have a 25-foot hank or upwards of 50, whatever length that we need. In that cargo pocket, I would recommend carrying a lot of this and placing it everywhere you can. In the assault bag, in the rucksack, using it for shoelaces, wrapping it around. Again, knife sheaths or tools that make sense to have cordage wrapped around, and taking hanks and putting them in as many places as possible just to have that cordage. Cordage is indispensable out in survival. There's so many things that we can do with this, from gathering food to making fire to building shelter. Cordage is going to do a lot for us, so we should have a lot with us. Our next, a couple of signaling items. We've got that whistle for auditory signal. It's going to travel really far this time of year because it's winter. In the jungle environment or in dense woods, this may not be as effective, but we can still have it as a kit. One thing that's going to be great for a signaling item is that signaling mirror, because we can signal upwards of 100 miles away with signaling mirrors, especially to aircraft. They can see this and we can pattern with it, and they will recognize that pattern because they're going to be looking for it as part of search and rescue. But signals, multiple signals that can go in the pocket are going to be great. So we've got a signaling mirror to signal search and rescue aircraft with the sun's rays if it's sunny out. And then we have an auditory signal that works in the day and nighttime that search and rescue can hear, and we can pattern with this as well. So we have different signals. We can also use this whistle for direct fire control measures, signal lift and shift fire signals, all that kind of stuff, or ceasefire or charge back in the old days of World War II with our bayonets. But signals are going to be important not only for signaling search and rescue as survival, but also for small unit tactics. So we carry as many as we can. All right, quickly, speaking of signaling. All right, speaking of signals, really quick, honorable mention is going to be that aviator panel marker. This thing is small, compact, goes in the pocket. It's about the size of a shemagh, fully unfolded. We can use this as a flag, as a marker, a way for search and rescue to see us. So having a small panel bright like this is going to make a lot of money in search and rescue for signaling for help. And when we don't want to signal for help, or we don't want to signal and give away our position, we've got camouflage for face paint. Vegging up, camouflage, so we can blend into our environment. This is one of the old school chapstick models of camo paint. It's going to be hard and rip your face off, but we have our light color there. We have our dark color on the other side, and we would take this, just roll it in the hands to warm it up, or get it next to the fire, put it underneath the armpit or in the crotch to warm it up, to make a face paint inside. The paraffin wax and all that good stuff, the petrolatum, actually work a lot better, so it's not tearing our face off if you've ever tried using these. But you push on one end and drive, if you don't break your finger, that is. Push on one end if you don't break your finger off, and expose some of that camo face paint on your face, dark on the highlighted portions, light color on the light portions of the face or the sunken portions. Camouflage so we can blend into our environments, we can remain undetected, can avoid detection at least, and veg up and live to fight another day as part of our escape and evasion plan, to camouflage ourselves with immediate action and then get off the X and work within our EPA, our evasion plan of action. So face paint is going to go in the pocket because we're always vegging up. We're always touching up with that vegetation with that camo face paint to make sure that we look good once we go up on the objective to do our reconnaissance as part of small unit tactics, and then pull back, get camoed up again, and go back to our assault positions and prepare to take the objective. And of course, we have to know which direction the objective is in. And if we know which direction the objective is in, we can certainly work the reverse azimuth to go away from the objective, back to our objective rally point, get our gear, and then move out in accordance with our compromise plan or our evasion plan of action to get away from our pursuers and avoid enemy contact. But having that compass in the pocket, a way to maintain direction, we can land navigate night and day as long as we have a lot of that information memorized. We're probably going to have a notepad, a pencil with us, so if we write down the operations order and we write distance and direction, we go with DDTMK, the distance, direction, terrain, and key feature at that location or movement technique. We can keep that stuff memorized in our notebook and then work off of that to actually land navigate. And we can use the PAL method, the approximate azimuth uniform lay method, with a compass if we have a good travel log to land navigate based off just simple distance and direction, and maybe a couple of notes with those legs of our journey. So we can use that for reconnaissance information as well as a survival tool to find water if we cross a creek, find food locations if we come across maybe things to forage, or if we happen to notice a lot of animal signs, scat trails, game runs, or dens, we can go back to that area, attempt to get some food as we're evading from the enemy, and then leave our hide site and continue to land navigate with the compass. But having one in our pocket is indispensable. It doesn't have to be this one either. It could be just a simple button compass like I have on my watch to land navigate generally based off our operations order, based off the notes that we have, or our travel log. So having a compass either way is going to be incredibly important for that basic everyday carry kit for infantrymen. And then as part of that land navigation or finding our way, having a good headlamp is going to be incredibly important as well, or a small flashlight. I'll often carry just a small flashlight in my pocket as part of an everyday carry kit, because you never know when you're going to be in a place where the lights go out and you got to find your way out, or you dropped your favorite pen underneath your desk because you're a field grade officer and all you do now is work behind a desk, and you've got to find it really quick so you can sign all those Article 15s and budget statements for your unit. But having a headlamp and being able to find your way in the dark is important. This keeps away the boogeyman. It also has a red setting, so we can use that red light at nighttime. It has a white setting and a strobe, so we can signal search and rescue aircraft. So having a headlamp in our pocket, or generally this is going to be worn around the neck out on operation, so it's readily available and we're not going to lose it. And we can put it up at nighttime and take it back down once daylight comes up. Or if we need to use this for a map check underneath that poncho and poncho liner, we can turn on the red lens flashlight again, find it, turn it off, put the nods back down, and continue movement. So headlamp, very important for an everyday carry item. We should also have emergency or improvisational methods for medical aid as well as survival in our pocket. One of those things that we can carry is just that cravat, that military 100% cotton material that we use for improvisation or for bandaging or for swaths, slings, improvised tourniquets. This cravat can do a lot for us. It comes with two big safety pins in the middle like these. We can use these for fish hooks or to actually secure that bandage. But safety pins are going to be great items as well. If you ever get a cravat, make sure to hang on to these bad boys. But this thing unfolds into a triangle shape, kind of like this. And we can use this for camouflage. We can roll it up, use it as a tourniquet. We can also use it as a headband, or we can use this as a way to strain water. We can use this and turn it into char cloth. We can actually put a rock inside this, roll it up, and use it as a weapon, a sling bob. There's a ton of uses for a cravat and material like this. And so something that's small, that may still be in the packaging, obviously this is not, throw it in the pocket, and we have an improvisational tool right there, because cotton material is going to be one of those things that a lot of survivalists, bushcrafters, mountain men, pioneers, frontiersmen always carried for a variety of uses. And so this goes in the pocket as an everyday carry item, or if we don't want something like this, we throw that tourniquet in there, because over in GWAT, everybody had a tourniquet in their pocket, just in the off chance for a missile strike or an IED, whatever it is. But this can do the same thing. It's going to take a little bit of time. Plus, you're going to have to get a stick to act as the windlass if you're going to use it as a tourniquet. But a cravat is a multifunctional piece of kit to throw in that pocket. So always have a bandana or a shamag or a cravat in your pocket, or even a sniper veil. And then something that I invest in and that I recommend to other soldiers is having just a small personal survival kit. This doesn't have to be in the pocket. We could throw this in the assault bag, but having a small one like this is great for a pocket carry. I got those Ranger bands right around the top. And you guys have probably seen a lot of my different survival tins that I carry. This one's smaller than my traditional one, about the size of an Altoid tin. You can use an Altoids tin. You can find any craft tin. I've used these with dip cans before. And all we have inside, we've got needles up here with thread taped to the tin. And we've got our aluminum foil for a cup, water tablets for treating water. We've got snare wire, matches for fire starters, a button compass again, so we can land navigate. We've got a whistle for signaling. We got that wire saw for cutting down material. Wire saws are going to be great for small survival tin kits like this if we use them correctly. We've got more safety pins like those big ones from our cravat, a small ferrule rod for fire starting. We've got fish line right here. This is braided fish line. That's about 40-pound test. This doubles as thread for our needles that are under this tape right here. We can also use it for snares, but mostly for fishing. Speaking of fishing, we've got just some fish hooks on a safety pin right here. We've got our backup survival knife, just that buck 55, another safety pin. That micro cordage again, 25 feet right here of micro cord that we can use for shelter, traps, snares, whatever we need cordage for. We've got two different tabs for tinder for fire starting as part of our fire kit in this tin. Another signaling mirror. Got some sinkers to go with our fishing kit, all kind of thrown in here. And then alcohol prep pads for treating small wounds, but we can also use this with our ferro rod or our matches for a tinder source. So multifunctional there. Got a surgical razor blade, good to go. And then a couple of different H-style Band-Aids in the bottom. These are gonna be Band-Aids that with their style, because they're H's, we can get into those hard to reach places if we have a cut in between our knuckle or wherever. But a couple of those to help protect our fingers or cover any wounds, because we're gonna be using our number one survival tool a lot, our hands. And then we have a small kit like this as part of our PSK that goes with our everyday carry, at least something that I would recommend to a lot of soldiers out there. With a kit like this, we have a lot of redundant items here that are part of our everyday carry. So we can carry the tin and maybe we drop that signaling mirror because we have a small one right here that we can use. Or we drop some of that cordage. We may carry less 550 cord because we have micro cord as part of that kit. We just have to dig inside our tin to get it out. And so you can see with our tin, we can mix and match. We don't have to carry all this stuff. We can mix and match different kit items for whatever the situation calls for. All right, guys, a down and dirty video today on just an infantryman's everyday carry with large tools, cutting blades, some cordage, fire starters, signaling devices, maybe some improvisational items, medical aid items, camouflage, and then of course our personal survival kit in that possibles tin. So again, a down and dirty video. I really hope you liked this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.